But yeah, very warm welcome again to everyone. Nice to see many familiar faces. Let's start with just a few minutes of silence together, and you can close down the eyes and kind of sit however you're sitting. You don't have to take any special posture. And see if you can just sit in silence for a while. So no need to go towards your preferred technique or the technique you've been practicing, but just coming into being aware of your experience. And allowing body and mind to settle in the place wherever you are. We are here together with different people, different practitioners. We all have this thing in common that we want to explore deeper. So for the next 8 weeks, we will be together, and we are not practicing alone. We are practicing with each other. And for the next 8 weeks, we have this shared commitment to do at least an hour of meditation per day. And to see if we can really bring this practice into also the rest of our lives. So this course is really about the practice on the cushion and as we walk and sit, but much more importantly also in the rest of our days where the practice really applies and takes effect and where it starts to transform our lives. Okay. So just invite you to call to mind what inspires you to meditate. So I asked you in the registration to kind of say why your intention for this course. But what I really want to know is what inspires you to meditate? What keeps you coming back to meditation or wants to make you go deeper into it? And maybe that is a reason that changes a lot, but there is something deeper which you are curious about. What inspires you to meditate? Okay, so you can open up the eyes again, and let's go a quick round of sharing. We'll be together for 8 weeks, so it's nice to get to know each other a little bit. It's also really nice if you switch on your video camera so we can see each other. So maybe Anne, would you like to start? Maybe just not too long, just briefly your name, where you joined the course from, and a phrase or two about what inspires you to keep meditating.
Well, I'm Anne in Melbourne, Australia, and I do meditate daily. So it's something I've been doing for years. I used to be a yoga instructor, so started from there. But I want to go deeper, and I've had a few health problems. So meditation, I think, is helping to calm me down and take away the stress.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Kolya.
Yeah, hi, I'm Kolya from living close to Brussels in Belgium. Grew up in Germany. And I'm here because I have chosen Buddhism as my way of living my life and my way of spirituality. And so as most of you might know, to help with walking the Eightfold Path, meditation is an essential tool, which even the Buddha himself recommended as absolutely being essential.
And why did you choose to practice Buddhism of all things? What is it about Buddhism?
Compassion is in my nature. I don't know. I always was compassionate about life around me, sometimes even things, but especially life. And so I was looking for something which really makes being compassionate and peaceful about other lives, put it at the center. And that's why I found Buddhism. And then when I found out that it's also a way to deal with your own, what the Buddhism calls dukkha, suffering, which is not a very good translation, your restlessness, your cravings, you're basically not being satisfied. So how can I be balanced, self-centered, and actually just happy with my life? Because I noticed that even with my compassion, there were still cravings, which I now realize were completely unnecessary. And Buddhism is helping me greatly with that.
Great, thank you, Kolya, for sharing. Okay. How about David? You've been a meditator for some time.
Yes, hello everyone. So I encountered the practice of mindfulness during my psychology degree, using it back then mainly as a way to deal with the daily challenges. But after I finished my studies, I had the chance to dive deeper into the practice and see that there's much more to explore and to experience behind this first layer, let's say, and just recently I made took some decisions for my life, like maybe six months ago, and it felt just like when I saw this post 2 or 3 days ago. I know Reimer from I think it's 2.5 years ago. We we're sitting a course together or serving a course together, let's say serving, I felt it was the perfect time to, yeah, go this one level deeper again, like going out of this, you know, mindfulness, just meditating, let's say 20 minutes and experience this calmness and the focus, but yeah, diving into the ocean a little bit.
Right, thank you for sharing. So it sounds like it's learning, it's going to places you haven't been and learning more what's there and what's possible actually. Is that right?
Yes, and of course on the way finding this tranquility and this this peacefulness, you know, this is for me like it's always the I don't know, like there are not many things where I can feel so calm and so peaceful.
Great, excellent. Thank you for sharing that, David. All right, who wants to go next? Jesse, how about you? I'm just going down alphabetically here in the participant list.
Yeah, hi everyone. Can you hear me? It's okay, right? So
Yes.
just, dialing up from Hong Kong. I meditate regularly, but coming from a different tradition. I learned how to teach MBCT. So after I take the 10 days of Vipassana online, like several months ago, and I think it's quite liberating. I have some very different processes. So I want to find out more and experience more. Yeah.
And what does liberating feel to you?
I'm more than my suffering. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for sharing, Jesse. Next is Leo.
Hi, I'm Leo. I'm from China, Beijing, and I'm most of the time I'm an active person. I like sports, and I also find peace in meditation, and that's why I'm here.
So the continued peace that you feel with meditation is what keeps you coming back to the cushion?
Yeah, but it's been a while, like half a year since I meditate for more than 30 minutes. So for me, it's more like a restart this time.
Okay, great, thank you. Welcome, Leo. Maria, how are you?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Maria. I'm calling from Karachi, Pakistan. I think I started meditating while I was working on my mental health, and it's just been really nice to have that sort of space to connect with myself and to just be with my own company. So I think it's become a need now. So it's just any way that I can incorporate it.
So it gives you kind of more space, and that's what keeps you coming back to the practice. More space in your life. Yeah. Cool. Mita.
Hi, I'm Mita. I'm coming to you from Yorkshire in England. And I meditate because it makes me feel better time and time again. It never fails. And because it makes me feel better, it makes everyone around me feel good.
Wonderful. The simplicity of that I like. Sean, welcome.
Hi everybody, Sean. I'm Irish, as you probably tell from my voice. But Maria, I'm actually living in Islamabad, so I'm just up the road from you.
No way.
I've meditated. Yeah, I was in Karachi about 3 weeks ago, actually. Anyway, hi. So I've been meditating for about 15 years, but very on and off, sort of sporadically. Started through mindfulness. Like Kolya and others, I sort of increasingly got into the Buddhist philosophy, reading lots of books and so on and so on. So more recently with a very Buddhist-oriented, well, Vipassana-oriented approach, I did one 10-day retreat, but that was 3-4 years ago. What I'm struggling with is, and I try and meditate every day, but what I'm struggling with, and I know it's also related to commitment, I think Raymar, one of your on the 10-day course, in one of the recordings, you mentioned the importance of committing to practice, not just trying to do 5 minutes when you can, but actually committing to practice. But I've been struggling with getting a daily routine and that commitment to that routine, and then also taking it off the cushion, to what I'm really interested in is the compassionate side, and trying to increase my compassion and increase my impact in a positive way for others. So that's where I'm at. I've just a few of us are just completing, as you know, the 10-day. I think we'll finish tomorrow, inshallah. So back to you.
Excellent. Great. Wow. So international, everyone. Amazing. There's one more person, Alpsatel. I'm not sure how your connection is. You said you have bad connection sometimes. If you want to try speaking. I think your microphone is not enabled at the moment. Okay. That's okay.
Yeah, the Alcatel person put into the chat that he or she is on a train and the connection
she says
is
she's on the train. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm Raimar again.
I heard train, so I guess you definitely.
Yeah, go ahead. Do you want to try
I
answering the
got
question?
again, so I might use that. Hi, I'm Barbara. I feel at home at different places where I train, as you can hear. My reason why I meditate is because I want to be anything else without doing, without thinking, without resistance. It's looking for being. Yeah. Thank you. Very much looking forward to getting to know you all.
Great. Thank you, Barbara. It's you, Barbara. I didn't recognize the Zoom hand. Okay, yeah. So welcome. We're all here for different reasons, but all a bit curious to go into the practice. Yeah, I'm Raimar. I've been doing this practice for a number of years, and yeah, keep inspired to share what I learned, to also share different approaches. I'm not very into just sharing one technique and this is the only thing, and this is the only way, because I've also practiced many different things, and I think that many techniques, they have different strengths and weaknesses. And here I try to share a little bit about the noting technique, which is not as commonly or widespread, because it's mainly the Goenka body scanning that's very popular, but one that for sure has helped me a lot and is the one that I still practice regularly every day. I'm inspired to meditate because it keeps transforming and surprising me in new ways, and I really feel that it's now somehow inseparable from the rest of my life, and I feel that meditation, I see the benefits show up in every part of my life, and it always in a new way, whether it's dancing and being able to feel subtlety in my body, whether it's being in conversation and having a little bit more space and attention, whether it's starting to worry about my future and what I'm going to do, and then recognizing that as just a thought that's appearing. And so every day there's always new dimensions which are revealing themselves, and over time, over the years, that has also keeps transforming. So I'm here on the journey to keep being surprised by the practice. So we just jump right into it. I've prepared some presentations, some slides here. So our starting point, I'm just going to mute Barbara. The starting point for this practice is to always come back to what do we really place importance on. So what is important to us in our lives? And this is why I ask you, what inspires you to meditate? And we need to know what inspires us to meditate. We need to know what we want. If we practice just awareness, we won't really go anywhere in life. So we need to keep balancing what do we place importance on, why do we meditate, and so that we know what we are meditating for. And throughout this course, we are going to investigate, and these are the questions that we keep coming back to, what really brings us real happiness. And all of you have experienced happiness, and kind of comes and goes, and here and there, and sometimes it's in expected some places, sometimes it's in unexpected places. And when do I struggle? So when do I struggle against life? When do I fall into dukkha, into this kind of dissatisfaction or suffering, or kind of fighting upstream against life? So we really want to build the awareness, and that's why we're really working with this practice, to really examine and be clear on what really brings us real happiness, and when do we start struggling, and why do we start struggling, why do we fall into dukkha. And often the reasons are not what we think them to be, otherwise we wouldn't keep falling into the struggle. So the real basics of it is body and mind. This is the thing that we keep coming back to in meditation, is the body and mind. So to investigate these questions, usually in the life we always work with reasoning. We work with the story, the narrative, the reasons on the outside world. If I go do this, if I have that, if I with these people, with that people, if I have this occupation, this hobby, if I eat this food. We work with these kind of cognitive layers, which are really important layers. But what we are doing in meditation, we are just turning the attention back into ourselves and observing ourselves. We are observing our body. So what do I mean by body? Body is our five senses. So you can think of this kind of as the hardware of our system. The body sensations, the hearing, the seeing, the tasting, the smelling. So these are the five sensations of the body. And of course, everything that falls within that, everything that we can really sense and feel with the body. And we observe this in our meditation practice. And if some of you come from the body scanning, the Goenka method, where we're really scanning the body sensations and observing our reality like this is absolutely fundamental. So the body is very, very important. And then we have the realm of the mind, of course. The realm of the mind gets a little bit more complicated very quickly. And that's why so many meditation practices always start with the body, the mindfulness of breathing, the body scanning. The body is always the easy starting point. But often it is always the mind which makes us suffer. The mind, the ideas that we have, the worry that comes, the anxiety, the fear, anger, irritation, doubt that we fall into. All of these things, they are manifesting a lot in the mind, and they are caused in the mind. But of course, the two are very interrelated and keep influencing each other. The thoughts produce the sensations, the state of the nervous system induce some state of mind, always talking, always influencing each other. And most of the time, this is all very, very messy. So things are happening so quickly all the time. And that's why in meditation, we are really slowing down. We're giving some space. We're reducing the stimuli so that we can start to see how body and mind are working and start to see them clearly, so that we understand body and mind, so that we deeply know and develop the wisdom of body and mind. When we understand body and mind, and there's always more layers to see, we see what really brings us real happiness. We see how struggling arises, how suffering arises, and we learn not to go down those paths. We learn not to keep going into suffering. We can recognize it before it starts. We can recognize wholesome, pleasant, compassionate states as they arise, and we can foster them. But at the same time, we can be free of all appearances. So this is really the basics, body and mind. And the Buddha, he's basically a scientist of happiness. The Buddha, 2,500 years ago, he was investigating how can we be happy as humans? How can we not suffer? How can we not fall into dukkha? Dukkha is also translated as a kind of wheel on its axle that isn't really running smoothly. So why does life not really run smoothly? There's always this kind of this struggle or these obstacles which arise, which make us struggle and suffer. So he had the basic two tenets, which he kind of preached to everyone. Of course, other religions, parents teach this to their children, to do no harm. So we have the precepts, which kind of guide us a little bit to do no harm. Of course, the practice of morality, loving kindness, meditation, and to do more good in this world. So not only to do good in terms of the outside world, not only in terms of, charity or acts of kindness, but also to do good where it really starts. So where does good really start? It starts within us, in the way we think, in the way we speak, and finally also in the way we act. So loving kindness is already bringing some level of happiness. If you just say to yourself now, I will be kind to everyone that I meet today. I will share smiles, I will share happiness. And for example, you could close your eyes now and just imagine yourself doing something kind or smiling at a person on the street. Or maybe you want to remember something kind that you did in the last week. Or just imagine you are giving someone, being generous, offering something, and noticing instantly the impact, the effect of this state inside your body, mind. So we have to do good, to practice loving kindness. Very basic effect on our body and mind, and we can instantly see that this brings us a little bit more joy, a little bit less. So, however, if we change these things just on a superficial level, so we practice these things, we make an effort to do them, they are great. They will definitely make us more happy. But we also need to change the mind at a much deeper level. Or we need to rewire and learn at a much deeper level. So that's why the Buddha also has or proposes the practice of meditation, which is why we're all here together. So to practice meditation, to reduce the inputs, to simplify, and to allow ourselves to become aware of the habits of our mind, aware of what arises, aware of how the body works, aware of how the mind works, and to start to train certain qualities or faculties that will help us live a happier life. So practicing mindfulness, practicing concentration, practicing loving kindness. So I'm not going to go as much into these things. These are kind of up to you to practice, but it's important that do no harm and do good is something that we keep coming back to, and it is really the easiest, the most basic, but also the most difficult and most complicated training. It's the first and the last training in morality in Siva. So meditation. Meditation, we have two main types of meditation, which are, or two main, let's say, categories of meditation. So we have the category of Samata meditation. So this is Samadhi meditation. This is where we have a specific objective in mind of cultivating unification of mind. So Samadhi also means to collect and gather the mind. So we usually practice this with some meditation object, for example, Anapanasati, for example, focusing on our breathing. So in this type of practice, the goal is to generate calmness, generate concentration, and through that tranquility and peacefulness arises as a state in the mind. This is number one. And the second type of meditation is Vipassana meditation. So Vipassana isn't a specific technique, it is a kind of specific way of looking. So Vipassana means to see clearly, to see through, to see in a special way. That's why it's also called insight meditation. And in Vipassana meditation, the goal isn't so much to create a state of peacefulness or unification of the mind. The goal is more to create wisdom. What is wisdom? Wisdom is to remove the misunderstanding. So to remove ignorance, to see through misunderstanding, and as a result, wisdom starts to emerge. So this is important because sometimes we come to our Vipassana practice expecting peacefulness, expecting concentration, but this is not at all what Vipassana is about. For sure, Vipassana benefits from having Samata, concentration, and peacefulness, because we can see things a bit more clearly, but it is not, the goal of Vipassana is not peacefulness in the moment. The goal of Vipassana is wisdom, which then in the long term leads to a much more peaceful way of living. So the removal of misunderstanding, we can think of this as that we have some operating system, some ways of looking at the world, some ways of perceiving the world, some ways of responding to that perception, reacting to that perception, which are not optimal for our happiness. It's assumptions about what makes us happy, assumptions of what makes us struggle, and we operate on those assumptions in our everyday life, and those assumptions sometimes are misguided, and that's why we keep falling into struggle, into dukkha, and why happiness keeps eluding us. So this is what we're practicing in Vipassana meditation. So I want to hear a little bit about the different types of meditation techniques that you have practiced. So besides Vipassana meditation, what else have you dabbled in over the years? And maybe you can just either write the name of the meditation or the what you did during that meditation in terms of how you paid attention into the chat. Let's just get like a few different things. So listening to sounds, chanting Om, so mantra meditation, or Samata on hearing. What else? The body. What else? So manipulating the breathing, so breathing deeper and making it very long. Maybe like a pranayama. And what else? Dancing meditation. Basic mindfulness technique, body scans, breath, some Zen meditation. Maybe Zen was breathing meditation, or it was just sitting, Shinkantasa. The MBCT, body scan, sounds, thoughts, yin yoga, mantra meditation, sound meditation, walking in nature, yin yoga. Great. So yeah, there's many different meditation practices, and the word meditation is so broad and encompasses all the different things. Dreaming journeys. Yes. So most meditation techniques out there, does Ashtanga yoga count as meditation? Depends what you did with your attention during your Ashtanga. Ashtanga yoga is actually a great way of developing a lot of concentration in Samata, because we have our focal points, the drishti, the continued awareness of the breathing, the bandhas. So they develop actually a lot of concentration. So what exactly is Samatha, or concentration, or samadhi meditation? So it's basically the simple thing that underpins it is to focus on just one subject. So focusing on one subject, focusing on a mantra, focusing on just hearing, focusing on deep breathing, focusing on some task of doing body scanning, focusing on mudra, different mudras. So there's many different ways to focus on just one subject. And even we can build concentration or samatha when we are working on something. I used to do quite a lot of coding stuff. When I'm sitting and coding, I really go into a state of concentration and everything else disappears. This kind of flow state arises. We are focusing on just the one subject. And through that, the mind unifies, the mind gathers around that one subject as we bring it back over and over again. And what is the impact of a unified mind? A mind where there's less thoughts arising, a mind where there's less irrelevant stuff arising, a mind where there's less self-referencing. There's a state of peace and calm that is the effect of that. However, the problem with samatha meditation is that this state of peace and calm is temporary. Because we generate some state of concentration in the mind, we are peaceful and calm when that state of concentration is here. But as soon as we go and do something else, as soon as our mind starts jumping around a lot more, as soon as lots of self-referencing come back in again, this temporary state of mind of peace and calm slowly starts to decay or dissolve. And then we are left again with our more default state of mind, which is maybe a bit less peaceful and calm than we desire. So samatha is a great type of meditation and is very useful, and it's super helpful, and we need basic level of concentration. We need this ability to focus in order to also really practice Vipassana. So that's why the samatha is always the starting point. The anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing, is the starting point for Vipassana. So as we get some skill and concentration, we move on towards our Vipassana meditation. And so what is Vipassana meditation? In Vipassana meditation, remembering that our objective here is wisdom, or developing, understanding, removing ignorance. So in Vipassana meditation, we're not necessarily trying to create a state of peace and calm, because in a state of peace and calm, everything is easy, everything is working well. Let me remove that for now. So we're not really learning about how suffering arises, because suffering doesn't arise as easily when there's peace and calm. We are not learning about ourselves in a normal default state of mind, because all we're studying is this unified and peaceful state of mind. So in Vipassana meditation, we're definitely using some concentration to kind of stay on the task and stay in focus, but we're also, and this is the key difference, we are, where's my annotate? We are using mindfulness plus concentration. So we are focusing on the subject, but we are also bringing in or intending to create mindfulness. A word that is very often used, but often not so clearly defined or understood. So what is different in mindfulness is that we are being aware of what is happening in our body and mind by nature. Oops. We are aware of what is happening in body mind. So we need some basic level of mindfulness to practice, for example, anapanasati. We need to be aware of thinking when it appears, when it distracts us, so that we can bring it back to the meditation object. We need to be aware of something that is not the mantra, to bring it back to the mantra. But when we start to get really good at samatha meditation, at samadhi meditation, we can suppress and we can ignore everything else, and we get so good at concentrating and going into this state of peace and calm that nothing else arises anymore, and we stop learning. So in Vipassana meditation, the technique is to just focus on the body and mind that is appearing at the present moment. So whatever body and mind is appearing by nature, without changing it, without manipulating it, observing the reality of body and mind as it is manifesting moment to moment, and learning how to work, learning how the sensation is coming, learning how the thoughts are coming, how they are disappearing, all with the objective of learning about this process and removing misunderstanding about what we actually are, and to learn truth and to experience the truth of what's happening right here. And the impact of this is a more long-term wisdom that arises from understanding impermanence, from understanding the nature of suffering, dukkha, from understanding anicca, non-selfness, and to be free regardless of the mind state. So not to be just dependent on peaceful and calm states of mind, but to be able to be okay with whatever it is, whatever body and mind is appearing right now, whether it's something pleasant, something unpleasant, something neutral, whether it's pleasant feeling in the body, relaxed feeling in the body, a tense feeling in the body, a mind that is doing, a mind that is relaxed, whatever it is, we are okay with it because we've cultivated the unconditional concentration on body and mind that is appearing. Okay. So I will just leave that here for a second. So if this isn't really clear for now, that's okay. We are working for the next 8 weeks with Vipassana meditation, and this will hopefully become clear as we progress. And this also requires the practice, of course, to understand it. It can't just stay an idea. So we are moving from, and a lot of us, and for me also for many years, I was practicing Samata meditation and not knowing, but I thought I was practicing Vipassana, but actually I was always trying to come back to a state of peace and calm, and not really being aware of body and mind, and regardless of what it is. And this is also something we keep falling into. So this is what we are going to do in the 8 weeks. And this balance between Samata and Vipassana, between concentration and mindfulness, is something that I will keep coming back to throughout the course. The key concept: to focus on body and mind at the moment. Whatever body is doing, whatever phenomena of body appearing, whatever phenomena of mind is appearing, we are aware of it, we are focused on it. So it is different than just being distracted and thinking about stuff, because then I'm not aware. But as soon as I can focus on this act of thinking, the thinking is seen clearly and is seen for what it is, which is an experience that's happening in the present moment, body and mind. The same thing with a sensation. So if there's a sensation appearing which I don't like, I can be vaguely aware of some, oh, I know that there's a pain in my knee. I had a recent knee operation about a month ago, so I'm recovering from that. And in the beginning, there was a lot of pain in the knee. So I can be aware of the pain, but if I'm reacting to the pain, if I'm not really aware of the nature of the pain, I'm thinking about the pain, I'm worrying about my body recovering, I'm tightening, contracting, I'm not clearly aware or focusing on the body and mind at the moment. So I need to be aware, and I need to have this kind of just awareness, without anything extra, without any reaction, without any judgment, just the awareness, the focus on body and mind at the present moment. Okay. So before we think too much about that, let us take 2 minutes to see if we can do this, to see if we can just be aware of what is happening in body and mind, without going into any technique yet or having any aid. Just let's try to be aware for 2 minutes what happened in body and mind. So let's close down the eyes together. And the first thing to do, just to relax. And let's, for 2 minutes, just notice what we notice. Okay, can finish that. I'm coming back. So whatever appeared in those 2 minutes, there's nothing wrong. Whatever appeared in those 2 minutes is the nature. Whether it was thinking, whether it was hearing, whether it was more feeling of the body, breathing, something else, whether you were thinking about stuff, analyzing stuff, planning stuff, worrying stuff, no problem. So everything that is appearing is just the nature of body and mind that is working by itself. So I would like to hear a little bit, and there's really no wrong answer. Whatever appeared, we can just be aware of what's happening. So if anyone would like to share, otherwise I will pick someone. Just briefly, what happened in those 2 minutes? Yes, Kolya.
It's a beautiful day here in Belgium, so I'm actually sitting outside on my porch, and what happened is that the smell of the flowers in my garden got much more intense, and the singing of the birds really got to me. So that was basically all I noticed, and there were no big thoughts or something. I was just calm and enjoying the smell and the sound of the birds.
Okay, good. So a little bit more on the body. There was things in the body appearing, the smelling, the hearing, and that was appearing, and mind not as much in the foreground. Cool, no problem. Who else?
Yes, I like to share a little bit.
Yes, go ahead.
So I found it really interesting because I could observe myself observing. It was really, I almost, so I could switch between observing my body and observing my mind. Like, recognizing, okay, what is happening in my body? Okay, I'm sitting here on the floor. I can feel my knees a little bit, and I could, see what is happening in my mind. And yeah, trying to keep a little bit of distance to it, but then at the same time, like being completely in it. It was, I found it interesting.
Mm-hmm. What would you say was the balance between noticing mind and noticing body more?
Could you repeat that?
What would you say was the balance between how much percentage of those 2 minutes were experience of your body versus the experience of more your mind being prominent?
Okay, yeah. So I would say 25% body, 75% mind. Yeah.
Okay, great. Cool. Mita, you're raising your hand.
Thank you. Mostly mind, awareness of the body, having my feet flat on the floor, my back is more comfortable, I've chosen a different cushion. Aware of the cat coming into the room and settling down and having nice emotions about that. Aware of people leaving the house and thinking they're on time, so everything's working as clockwork this morning. So mostly mind, a little bit body. I'd say the same, really, 3/4 mind, 1/4 body.
So the experience of the cat coming into your room, is that an experience of the body or an experience of the mind?
It's both. Experience of the mind, because it brought an emotion of, oh, how lovely, but also the mind, because it made, also the body, because I felt it in my heart, and I felt my slight smile coming up, face. So a bit of both, really. They worked together.
Yes. Great. Good. Yeah, everyone amazing. So we are aware of what's happening in our experience without necessarily needing to control it. Even if we think it's possible to control it, the thing, we have no idea what's going to happen in those 2 minutes. But if I made you do it again for 2 minutes, it would be different. We cannot control what's appearing in the body and mind. It's happening by nature. It's happening by itself. Sometimes it's external stimuli which come in. A cat that we hear, then our mind recognizes the cat, and then there's some feeling in the body, some emotion response to that. Then the mind is thinking more about, oh, that's lovely, more emotion appearing in the body. Maybe here we hear something else. So very quick, the body and mind is working so quick and so seamlessly, so uncontrollably. And all our job is during Vipassana meditation is to be aware and observe this process. And the more we are clearly aware, the more we see how really the mind and body is working moment to moment. In those 2 minutes, there are so many things which are happening, so many countless amount of things, and we only see some of them. Are like, this block of time is thinking, this block of time is some body. So the mind is working moment to moment. Some say there's like 30 phenomena appearing per second, 30 different phenomena. The recognition of the cat, the visual of the cat maybe appears in your mind's eye when you hear the cat, and in the next moment the emotion appears. So it's very, very quick. And what our job is to develop this skill of awareness of what's happening. But yes, excellent. So we have a technique. So this is a technique which helps us to observe the body and mind. So it is just a technique. It is important to recognize that it's just a technique. It is not Vipassana itself. Vipassana is just awareness of what's really happening in our experience. But we use some technique to help us create this this habit or this specific way of looking where we are aware of body and mind at the moment. So what is the technique? The technique is the noting practice, the labeling practice. So noting means to just notice what's happening, and we use these kind of mental labels, brief mental labels, to just kind of categorize, to help us build a bit of clarity of our awareness, of our mindfulness, so that we can recognize the things much quicker and really pinpoint the things clearly. So we are using these labels. So maybe you would label sitting, and then a sound appears, and you label hearing. And then maybe you start thinking about your meditation, and you just label thinking. And then maybe again you notice sitting, and you label sitting. And you notice your breathing, the rising and the falling of your breath. And then something else appears. And so in this fashion, we are kind of labeling our experience as it's happening, with the priority being on just noticing. So we are not, this is not some kind of mantra that we keep repeating, like, sitting, breathing, rising, falling, inhaling, exhaling. It's not a mantra that we are kind of putting in the foreground and using it to manipulate our experience. No, the labeling is really just there to help us recognize what is already happening by nature. So it's important, and this is a subtle point, that the label doesn't go too much into the foreground. So the label is just something we attach a little bit just to help us recognize the experience. So in this first week, we just have some basic things which we work with, and then every week we kind of we develop more subtlety as we develop the skill of awareness, the skill of mindfulness of body and mind. We allow more subtlety ourselves to look at thinking more, and the mind, and emotions and feelings, etc. But we start with the basics, which is basically just the body. in this first week, we prioritize the feeling of the body. So in this way, we also use some concentration to keep coming back to the body. So because we're just starting off, we need to use a little bit of concentration, a little bit of intending to focus on the body, intending to focus on our breathing, especially, to develop a bit more mindfulness so that we learn how to really observe clearly the body, and then we can open up also towards the realm of other realms of thinking. So the key instruction is to just label one thing at a time. So if it seems like there's many things happening at a time, just label one of them. You don't have to catch everything, and just label the thing that is most obvious. So maybe I hear a bird and then I see the image of the bird and then I start thinking about what kind of bird it is. I just label, maybe hearing was the most obvious. The sensation of hearing that appeared was the most obvious. I just say hearing. I don't have to say hearing, thinking, imagining, thinking. It's too much. We just start with simple, one at a time, every few seconds. And when we just notice thinking, we can just label thinking, just to keep recognizing thinking. So this is the technique that we are using. Yes, Barbara, you're raising your hand.
So do I get that right, that we label only with those labels? So we don't put any other labels like bird, like whatever it is. We just label thinking, hearing, smelling. Is that true?
So you can use more labels than these. You can kind of create your own labels. But the important thing for the labels is that they are not, they are prioritizing just the activity of body and mind at the moment. So rather than labeling a bird, bird song, sound of leaves, because then you are caught in the content of the experience, what the experience is, and it's actually already mixing in the imagination, the perception, the thinking is already mixing in very quickly. So we would just want to recognize that this is hearing in our ear.
I get it. That makes sense. Thank you.
So we all, for thinking, we also don't want to get into the content of our thoughts. We don't want to, okay, I'm thinking about what I'm going to have for lunch, and I'm planning I'm going to cut the vegetables and put them in the oven. Okay, I don't label oven or vegetables or cooking. I just label the activity, which maybe can be something as basic as just thinking, or if you can also get a bit more granular, but I recognize planning or remembering or imagining, or if you just to keep it simple, just thinking. So you have to, this is a little bit also your own experimentation. What label really helps you to feel that you are clearly observing the appearance of body and mind? But here's some kind of basic ones that you can work with, and I will also mention some in meditation instructions. Yes, Jessie.
Yeah, so what about a feeling and urges?
What was the second word? Feeling and?
Urges, like some impulse.
Yes. Yeah, you can label that as impulse, or you can label that as urge, or you can label that as wanting. The feeling, if the feeling is what is, so remembering here we're labeling the thing that is outstanding. So sometimes it's the thinking which is outstanding, sometimes it's maybe some emotion, then you can just label the emotion, anger, or worry, or anxiety. You can use that as a label as well, but also recognizing that this is some feeling in the body and some level of thinking.
Okay.
And you will feel when your labels are clear and they help you observe the thing that's happening, and you will feel when your labels are missing the point or not really helping. So we're using the labels in the aid of just being aware of body and mind at the moment. Yes, the key concept of the whole course and this lecture in particular, just to intend to focus on body and mind at the present moment. And so we focus on body and mind with the labels. And importantly, we can't really control our level of awareness. We can only intend or intentionally or wish to increase our level of awareness. And by making our mind keep intending to focus on body and mind, this habit of focusing on body and mind, being aware of body and mind, increases and gets stronger. So if you start thinking and forget about it, if you start worrying, forget about it, don't worry, this is just the nature and the habit is not there yet. So then just re-intend to focus on body and mind. Very simple. Okay. Let's try it. Let's try it for 2 minutes. We don't have to do it very well, but we just intend to do it and see what happens. So we will use an anchor, our meditation object, which is the rising and falling of the belly. So when the belly rises with the inhale, we label rising. When the belly falls with the exhale, we label falling. And whatever else appears in between, or as you get distracted, you just label that also. And we see each other again in 2 minutes. So let's close the eyes. Relax. And start with this rising or falling. Okay. And let's come back. So we have our technique. Maybe it was difficult, maybe easy, maybe the labels help. Let's use the middle way also for practicing, so we don't have to be too intense and catch everything and be perfect at labeling. But if you notice you're kind of dropping off and you stop labeling, just kind of increase a little bit the intentionality of your practice. I won't pick on anyone to share, because I also want to leave some time for questions. Let's see what maybe we'll skip that. Yes, Barbara, you want to ask something?
It is also a little bit a question, but from the experience that I just had in the last 2 minutes. And I had thoughts arising. It was like a little story in my head that evolved about talking to someone else, you know, like a conversation. And then I realized it, and then I labeled it as, oh my God, you're so great, you know, like in a, you know, ironic way. And I labeled it as, you know, proud or arrogant thinking. And I was like, oh no, I should not label it in a, you know, in a judgmental way. And then I just came back to labeling it as thinking. Is this normally what happens? So is this exactly what we don't do and what we do? So maybe from this example, you could explain a bit.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so sometimes you will notice that you will use a label, but it doesn't really help you to take distance from the phenomena, the appearance. So you're like thinking about that thing, and then you're like labeling proud, but you're stuck in that story and thing. But to just recognize that you are thinking helps you kind of step back from the whole thing and recognize what's happening, that you are thinking, that thinking is appearing. So that is really the function of the labeling, to kind of step out of what is happening and recognize that is appearing. And if the label keeps you swirling in that narrative, in the story, then maybe you need to try a different approach. Maybe you need to put it all in one box and kind of label that box. Maybe you need to recognize maybe a little bit the sensation of it, oh, the feeling here, or different angles. But for example, if you are too general, if you are like just okay, thinking, I know that I'm thinking, that also doesn't help. You are not really stepping back from the thing and labeling clearly, this is thinking.
I felt that thinking was a little bit too broad, in fact, because thinking can be different. Like, I mean, this was a story. So maybe I could just label that with story evolving, like that.
Sure, for now that's okay. For now that's okay. Story, if that helps you, story. Yeah, it's another word for thinking, but you can say that. Sure.
And then later we do what?
Step by step. We just work with that for now, and then later we will, as your awareness, as your mindfulness refines for what's happening, then we will get more granular. But yeah, just use story or thinking for now, if that helps you.
All right, thank you.
Yes, actually, let's go into Q&A now about the technique, since this is a little bit, it's a technique that's a bit more tricky to understand or wrap your head around, this idea of labeling, of noting. But once you get the ball rolling, it's a very powerful thing. Leo has a question: what's the purpose of noting and labeling? The purpose is to create the awareness of body and mind at the present moment. So we use the labels to create the awareness, the mindfulness of body and mind. That is the purpose of the labels. And actually later, as we get more skill, we can let the labels fall away. So we don't need the labels anymore. Maybe we can just do it without the labels. But in the beginning, we need to use the labels in order to make sure, because if we do it without the labels, it's very likely we'll just drift into thoughts for a very long time without recognizing it. That's why we have the labels as a sort of guardrail. What other questions is there?
I would like to ask
I also
about
have another one.
Okay, go ahead, David.
yes, so the anchoring of rising and falling. This is like the constant we keep for now in the practice, that we kind of have a reference point, and then always when I leave from this state, then okay, there's the hearing, comes to thinking, let's go back to the rising and falling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So in the beginning, especially, we use this reference point just to reestablish the clear mindfulness. So if we can really feel clearly this rising, if we can clearly feel this falling, we know that our awareness is sharp. If we just keep letting ourselves bounce around to everything appearing, it is likely that the clarity decreases and we don't really get it clear. So we kind of recheck, or we reestablish some little bit of concentration, a little bit of clarity with the rising and falling. Maria also had something.
Yeah, so I was noticing a lot of physical sensations, and so for hearing, I could just label it hearing, and I found it helpful. But for like the range of body sensations, it was just a bit like, oh, is all of this feeling? Or like, it's like, it was sort of helping me to label the body name of like feeling shoulder or feeling something like that, or feeling like pain versus tight versus light. So I was just wondering, I was just wondering if that's okay, or
Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, as you're saying, if you just keep feeling, it doesn't really feel you're getting clearly. But if you like a little bit, you don't have to go into the location of it, but because you already know the location clearly, but maybe the quality of it, whether it's tightening or soft, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, whether it's pain or just feeling. So you can label that. Yeah, I think that relates to what Marie, yeah, that's what you were saying. Yeah, so you can adjust the granularity as well. Sometimes you will be able to clearly recognize the subtlety of the sensation, and it's obvious that it's like discomfort. But sometimes you're in a more gross state of mind, and not so clear state of mind. Maybe then you would just label as feeling. So we're also always modulating. But you just do it for now, just do it as you feel, and then we can continue to adjust it.
okay. That's good.
Mita, and I see your question, Jessie, also. Mita, yes.
I just wanted to confirm then with emotions. For example, if you feel suddenly you feel sadness, you said you labeled the emotion as it was then, because it's not a sense, and it's not mind, is it, or is it? I don't know. It's both. I don't know, because it leads to other things like tears welling in the eyes, so that would be body, and then it might lead to anger, so that's another emotion. So I just wanted to be quite clear about how to label those, please.
Yeah, yeah, you can label exactly as that. You can label sadness. You can label, oh, now you're noticing, there's more sensation in my eye. You can just label feeling or something. And then in the next moment you recognize anger appears, just label anger. But make sure that you don't keep following. So you could follow this train forever of your emotion and how it's playing out and its cause and affect each other. But just try to interrupt that chain a little bit, just by, like how David was saying, just to come back a little bit to the rising and falling, to kind of reestablish this clarity, this concentration. And then again, what else is appearing?
Thank you.
Okay, Jesse, I wonder if I can anchor on the rising and falling of my chest instead of belly. Feels stronger and more grounded for me. I wouldn't focus on the chest as much. Like it's nice to use belly breathing. I mean, not that you have to force belly breathing, but as you naturally relax your body more, you should be able to feel more your belly rising and falling. What you could do is kind of like use more the whole of the torso. The feeling of rising in the whole torso, this feeling of falling in the whole torso. Yeah. In this technique, it's not as important to get into the specifics of the sensation of the breath as it is in the Anapanasati. Okay. Is there something else? Good. So we have our technique, we have our practice. Maybe it's a little bit still, we need to try it out, give it a go for a few days, and that's what the meditation is for. And yeah, just kind of follow your intuition for it. Just remembering the key point is to be aware of the body and mind at the present moment. Whatever label helps you with that. You can always message me for questions. We also have, we have the meditation instructions, which you will do like 2 or 3 times, and you can also come back to it later. But the idea of the course is also to build an independent practice, not always dependent on the guided meditation. So to have download a meditation timer and to use this one sitting split of 30 minutes. You can also meditate. You can split up the hour into 2 if you want. You can do, for example, 20 in the morning and 10 in the evening. Doesn't matter. Just practice 1 hour in total. But it is helpful to kind of have some longer period so that you get into it. Yeah, we have next lecture. We have next lecture on Sunday, and we also have the live practice invitations, which are just kind of invitations to bring the mindfulness into your daily life, which will also sync up with the topic for the week. So the topic for the week is the body. So just being clear on the body. And yes, I think that's all for the practical side. Kolya, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just have one question. I mean, again, since I'm sitting outside, obviously here is a very healthy noise floor, nature noise floor, but there's a lot of noises and smells going on. So is actually, as you advance in meditation and get really to a deep level, does that mean that while you are in meditation, you don't even hear those noises and smells anymore? So you basically just not recognizing them, or?
You will see, I mean, it depends what kind of meditation you obviously do. That will influence the kind of way of paying attention. But if you follow this practice of this noting Vipassana technique, then you you recognize clearly what that experience of hearing the sound, recognizing the sound, knowing that you are hearing the sound of this is made from. So we start to deconstruct the elements of that, and you recognize in the initial moment, there's a moment of hearing in your ear. Then the mind recognizes the sound and actually creates some visual map of where that sound is coming from. Then the mind recognizes that sound as a bird, and maybe there's a quick thought appearing of visual of what kind of bird that might be. And then maybe there's some emotional reaction to that, maybe very subtle, like some maybe small liking, small disliking. Maybe in the case of bird, usually it's a liking, which maybe appears as a sensation in the body. Maybe another thought appears in reaction to that. Very subtle, small appearances of body and mind that are happening so quickly, so incredibly quickly, that you need a lot of skill of mindfulness to catch them. So now, for now, it's just, I am hearing a bird and it feels nice, is what's being recognized. But as you develop more clarity, you can see actually the components of that experience, and you can see how the body and mind works within that. And you can see the impermanence, the anicca, the dukkha. You can see that the self that you create, I am hearing this bird and it feels nice, is actually just a collection of ideas and thoughts and sensations appearing in the moment. So you see, yeah, you keep refining and seeing more and more of how body and mind is working.
Thank you. Very interesting.
Mita.
Could you just explain a little bit more about the walking meditation? How much area do we need to walk, and how slowly or fast do you walk? Or is that all explained in the meditation that you've posted?
It's explained in the instructions. Yeah.
Okay, I'll wait then.
Yeah. So I'll repost all the stuff in the WhatsApp. I'll just repost the whole email in the WhatsApp group. Sounds like some problems with the email, but we'll get it done. Let me write that down. So
Okay, I've been wanting to ask this for 10 days now, but is there a evolutionary or spiritual explanation why we have such a busy mind?
the evolutionary explanation for why we have such a busy mind. So the mind is, so this is a kind of opening a big topic, and it's already the end of the session, so I don't really want to jump into that. But there's a really good book. It is called Why Buddhism is True. And it looks at the practice of observing the body and mind from a perspective of psychoevolution and why the mind evolved the way it is. And so if you want to, I mean, I can give some brief thoughts on it, but if you want to really learn or are curious about that, I would recommend the book. Why Buddhism is True. Kolya, what was the author of that again?
Write it down.
Robert Wright. Thank you, Kolya.
You reminded me of this.
Yeah, the author is actually an evolutionary psychologist. So his explanation, if you're interested in that, Barbara, his explanations why our brain works the way it does in the scientific context and how Buddhism helps to address that is absolutely fascinating and mind-opening. I have read the book already twice, and I think we need to read it a third time. It's it's always like, oh, I forgot about that, and there's another relation. It's a totally amazing book.
Yeah. Okay, great. Let us finish the session. I will, repost everything, and I will also organize the buddy groups for the week. There's a really
Beautiful.
nice
Thank you so much. Can't wait.
So I'll organize the buddy groups for the week, and yes, we'll just get started. Thank you very much for joining today. I appreciate your time on a Sunday, and I hope you have a nice week. Take care.
Thank you, Juan.
Bye bye.
Yeah.